Hello, everybody. My name is Bob, and this is how to maybe survive global thermonuclear war. Now, most people just assume, well, just going to be vaporized instantly. That may not necessarily be the case. However, the first thing we have to deal with as far as nuclear war goes is unknowns. There could be all kinds of different kinds of nuclear wars, and your survivability chances in them may be different. So I find that when I'm not personally concerned about global thermonuclear war, but I find that when I am worried about something, the best thing for me to do is to actually do something about it, to actually prepare. Uh, so uh, and preparedness can also be useful in lots of other things. Like last year in Texas, we had the snowpocalypse, and a lot of people were screwed because they didn't have Plan B for when the power goes out. Uh, so um, so having Plan B is good. And if you are concerned about global thermonuclear war, I hope that this advice can give you things to do to prepare to survive, potentially survive, maybe global thermonuclear war. First part of surviving global thermonuclear war is not to be where the bombs are falling. That seems kind of obvious, but yeah, if you are in the middle of a city that is being nuked, your odds of survival just go way down. Yeah, I mean, if you're right under a thermonuclear explosion, your odds of survival are non-existent. You won't survive. If you are real close to a nuclear explosion, your odds of survival are non-existent, pretty much. Also, if you are in a big city when bombs drop, even if you are not um, directly incinerated, even if you're not directly incinerated, you are in a world of hurt because you are going to be surrounded with a bunch of hungry, unhappy, and injured people. And you don't need that shit. So first, number one thing is don't be where the bombs are going to drop. Now, of course, it's possible that bombs could drop anywhere, but the odds of the bombs dropping on me here in Delta County, Texas, where I can still hear the coyotes at night, is probably pretty small. So I guess that would be the first thing. If you're in the middle of the city and you're probably not going to be moving out of a city anytime soon, you can probably skip the rest of this video because you're if in the case of global thermonuclear war, you're fucked. So that's the part number one is don't be where the bombs are falling, and don't be where there's a bunch of hangry, confused, hurt people, some of whom might be heavily injured with their skin hanging off. Don't be in that place. Um, Second thing, which is a thing that's very easy to do, is get potassium iodide tablets. Uh, the um, the approved treatment for thyroid blocking in the case of nuclear fallout is iostat, potassium iodide tablets. They're not very expensive. Just go online and buy some. If you're again, if you are in a city, that's probably not going to do you that much good. But if you're not in the city, then what you do is as soon as the bombs drop, and you can expect to receiving some fallout before long, is you start taking one a day, and that will block your thyroid from taking in any new iodide, any new radioactive iodide, and so that's going to dramatically reduce your chances of dying from fallout. However, you will still die from fallout if you don't have some kind of shelter in place. Um, Now, fallout is not radioactive for long. It's assuming that all the bombs drop on the same day. If all the bombs drop on the same day, then you got 2 weeks of having to be in shelter. Then you got another week in which you can go outside some, and then in weeks after that you can get more and more exposure outside of your little bunker, and your bunker does not have to be underground. It has to cover you with basically about a foot of material on all sides. Um, all sides also means above your head, because although it's not as high a source of radiation as the ground will be, um, there's also going to be sky. I think it's called sky scatter, where basically there are particles in the air that are breaking down and shooting out particles that will irradiate you from the sky. But if you have a foot of material on all sides of you, um, again, a foot of material, a foot of concrete would be ideal, but you could also have like a foot of books or a couple of feet of furniture and knickknacks and stuff around you, and that will block off the radiation. So you can do that anywhere you are. If you have sufficient blocks of matter that you can stack around yourself. Um, so day one bombs drop. We're assuming that all the bombs drop at once, because if you're holding on to a nuke on day two, you're kind of just looking to become a target. We'll assume for the sake of giggles that all the bombs drop on the first day. Then you have 2 weeks. You have to be in a shelter the entire time. Shelter being with a foot of material, hopefully dense material, between you and the outside world. Um, and you have to stay there for 2 weeks. That means you have to have a source of water there, sufficient for 2 weeks. You have to have some kind of food there for 2 weeks. You have to have a pooper there for 2 weeks. Um, all those things are doable, but you have to actually do them when the bombs drop. Okay, so second week, third week starts. You could go out and maybe refill your water bottles or something. Um, Fourth week and fifth week, and pretty soon the actual radiation from fallout is going to be negligible, and then you can start living your life again, such as it is. Um, you may not get Amazon deliveries for a while, but you can live. Um, okay, you need your iostat tablets. You need your some way of sheltering from the fallout. What else do you need? Well, like I said, there are other things that go into your little shelter, like you're gonna have to have some stored water. You're gonna have to have some stored food. You're gonna have to have a way to go to the bathroom. Now, let's say it's week five after the bombs drop. Um, what are you going to need for that? You're going to need to have an appreciable amount of food in storage, because you're going to take a while to get up to speed with the whole hunting and gathering thing again. Um, so you're going to need to have preferably about a year's worth of food, and it has to be some kind of storable food. In other words, the things that has a really long shelf life. Now, people very often go for military MREs. It doesn't need to be all that, or even primarily that. Flour will last a couple years. Beans will last a couple years. Not the most charming diet, but it'll keep you alive. So you need a large amount of storable food. You need a lot of water in storage, because it's going to take you a while to get up to speed with water purification and getting water from pure sources. Um, so all of that you can stockpile beforehand. Um, you're going to be the better off for it, and that also goes for other things that are not nuclear war. Some sort of major disruption, natural disasters, that sort of thing. Um, if you're living in an adverse environment, like it's very cold in the winter, or it's very hot in the summer, you're going to need some way to keep yourself hot or cool. Um, that could be anything from a wood burning stove, solar panels, anything like that. Because that is definitely in winter, having the ability to keep yourself warm is a survival need. So you're going to need that. Um, let's see what else. You're ideally going to need tools to repair things. You're going to need weapons to hunt with. And okay, so we've got, let's say we've got our first year after the bombs drop dealt with. We're good for that first year. We got plenty of storable water. You probably need to get water purification technology, like a Berkey filter or something of the sort, to help you with getting pure water after your stockpile of water runs out. Uh, but let's say it's the beginning of year two. Um, there is a various schools of thoughts on how the whole nuclear winter thing is going to pan out. And again, because war is inherently chaotic, and nuclear war, I imagine, even more so. There could be a whole lot of different ways that pans out, depending on how widespread the war is, whether all nukes on Earth get expended, that sort of thing, or whether defenses against missiles are more effective than what we probably think they are. But let's say we could have a situation where maybe half of the incoming ballistic missiles are neutralized. I doubt it, but it's possible. Um, but worst case scenario, well, worst case scenario could be a nuclear winter for anything from a year to like 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. That would be very bad. Your odds of surviving that are very low. There are, however, still ways of surviving it. One is insects. Insects are creatures that can survive on dead organic material, even including dead organic material that's been dead quite a while. So if you're out there on day 20, let's say, and you're worried about the prospect of a prolonged nuclear winter, um, one thing you could do is build a gigantic compost pile, and by gigantic I mean about an acre size compost pile by 9 feet tall or something. Um, if you do that, then what you can do is in the freezing, frigid times, it will keep warm because of its own internal heat mechanisms, and it will also cause or will also provide habitat for bugs. Um, so now it's very hard to understand the state of mind of somebody who's been in a nuclear winter for a year. It may be that after about a year of the nuclear winter, those bugs start looking pretty good. And in any case, they are there. There's the protein sources that are there that you can eat and you possibly survive. Again, this is all possibly. Um, so that could be a option in a prolonged nuclear winter scenario. But probably for at least half the year in such a scenario, you're not going to be able to do much except hunker in a hole and try to stay warm. Um, so yeah, again, your survival odds are not so great in that sort of scenario. Let's talk for a minute about the big C. Not cancer, but cannibalism. We might think that you would never scarf down on some nice human sirloin. You may not have a lot of choice. The reason why you may not have a lot of choice is there may be feral humans coming trying to take your stuff. You'll have to kill them, and then you're starving. So what are you going to do with that dead body? You're going to eat it. That's not the most healthful sort of food that you can eat, but it does have the energy, protein, and nutrients necessary to keep your body going. So again, you may not have a whole lot of other options. Um, Now, in terms of going out and like hunting people, that would not be fun. I would not welcome such a thing. But there may be people who are doing that, trying to do that to you. People who are wanting to eat you. So then you have to shoot them and maybe eat them. Um, but it's also quite possible that things may not be quite as grim as prognostications may predict. People may just decide to get along and cooperate, and nature may rebound faster than what we anticipate, and it may not be that bad. And you will never find out if you don't survive to that point. Um, Also, people often assume that when the big one comes, the big one it was like it was a Sanford or something maybe the old TV program is like he'd be always be having a heart attack and like oh Martha it's the big one, but people always assume that when the big one comes that they're going to be annihilated in a flash, just boom evaporated. And if you look at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there were a lot of people who were killed immediately by the nuclear bomb, atomic bomb, in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There are also people who died on day 2, day 10, probably day 200. There are a lot of really horrible, prolonged ways of dying in the aftermath of a nuclear war, and you don't want to be one of those people. That's connected with the one, don't be under the bombs, and two, prepare to shelter during fallout thing. Um, so it's not at all necessarily a given that when World War III comes, if it comes, um, that your death will be quick and easy. It may be long and hideous. So that's why preparing to be on the healthier side of long and hideous is a good thing. For all we know, on day 10 after the bomb, or not day 10, no, because everyone will be hopefully sheltering if they want to stay alive. Say day 31 after the bombs drop, you could be getting Amazon deliveries again because they could survive. Um, Not super likely, but possible. Um, and life could return to relatively reasonable in a relatively short period of time. Um, but I guess what I'm saying altogether is preparation. If you are anxious about nuclear war, which I am not, um, preparation is definitely a helpful thing, and also preparation can help you for other things that are more probable or even likely to happen. Natural disasters, political or social unrest, any sort of thing like that. You can do a lot of preparation for, and a large part of that preparation is having adequate stockpiles of water, having adequate stockpiles of food, having alternate power systems, having firearms, having ammunition, um, and having tools of some various sorts. So you can have those things and be more prepared for disasters which are probably more likely to happen than thermonuclear war. In Texas, we had the snowpocalypse last year. And there are always all kinds of natural disasters that are threatening or happening to people. And you can become very seriously screwed by those things. You don't need to die in a nuclear war. You could die in a horrible cold snap or social unrest or civil war or any number of other things. And preparation and education about preparation is important for you surviving those things. That's all for right now. Until next time, hasta la vista. Adios!